All right. So, welcome to Gathering Folds. I'm Madonna Yoder. We are taking a look at Tessellation Academy today. So, not only do I have all of these tutorials and instructions and ideas here on YouTube, but I also have paid courses, and Tessellation Academy is my monthly membership where I go through and I have a beginner tutorial and an advanced tutorial in a topic every month. And I explain to you, like, how are these patterns related? What are the rules behind these patterns? What's the underlying structure? And once you really understand that underlying structure, you can then use that to fold as many patterns as you want and create your own variations of patterns, create your own designs that can lead you into the wonderful world of folding your own patterns that no one else has folded before. And there's infinitely many patterns to explore. It's not like these are rare. So I'm more than happy to teach people how to find these patterns for themselves. So I want to start with walking through the upcoming tutorials. This is a pattern called Trillium that I released the tutorial for last week. Building blocks is one of the patterns from Advent of Tess this last year, and the tutorial that's coming out tomorrow is on 32 grid divisions instead of the 24 in Advent of Tess. The next month we're talking about patterns that use both square and right triangle twists. And this is the second time we've been talking about that particular topic. So we're using some tilings that are a little bit more complex. So you see these repeats are fairly far apart. There's a bunch of stuff going on in between. And we have two different structures that we have that idea of mixing right triangle and square twists and creating new patterns. Then after that, we're looking at what if you have a hexagon, then a triangle, then another hexagon, and then something other than just another triangle and hexagon forever. So this is a pattern called Hubble. It has these rhombus twists on the back. That'll be the beginner tutorial. And then I believe this is mitosis for the advanced tutorial. So you get into the hybrid hexagon twists. You get into these crazy tilings in Tessellation Academy that you don't see in Tessellation Starter Sequence, or, well, Basic Twist Bootcamp for starters, that has the basic 10 lessons of, like, this is what you really need to know before you go into anything more complex. Tessellation Starter Sequence is more getting into some of these more complicated structures, not as complicated as this one, but Tessellation Starter Sequence still uses only the 8 most basic twists. And tessellations by tiles is what I would consider the precursor to Tessellation Academy. Used 12 or no 20 structures, and yeah, in Tessellation Academy we've touched on at least 20 structures in the first year, and we're going much beyond that now in the second year of the membership. Then there's even more, like, what happens if you have a hexagon, then triangle, then rhombus, and you can have that in multiple different ways. We often are working with more repeats of patterns that would be familiar from Advent of Tess. And one of the ways that we are working with these patterns is taking a look at these decision trees. Welcome, Nancy. Glad to see you here. So inside of Tessellation Academy, there's not only the tutorials, but also a PDF download each month that includes 8 crease patterns and also a decision tree as applicable, links to download full tiling diagrams. We'll get into each of those. I just wanted to introduce this idea because when you have a tiling, so this is the hexagons and triangles 6-fold tiling, the structure is that you have 6 triangles around every hexagon, 3 hexagons around every triangle. That leads to this alternation that's possible. So if you do choose to alternate twists, then it comes down to, okay, what are you using for the hexagon? And what are you using for the triangle? And are those on the same side of the paper as not? Or are they on the same side of the paper or not? And so we can really break down all of those choices and then say, well, what are some other options that still use like this one hexagon, one triangle? What are the other options? And there are more options in terms of spacing. You can space one line. So you see these lines that pass all the way through between those tiles. Those are called, I call them tiling breaks, and they're places where you can freely add space in the pattern. So you can choose to add space in just one direction of them. You can subtract space from all of them. You can add space selectively on some of them. And I'll zoom in on that so you can see more details. So this is space added in every third line in all 3 directions. So you can really play with the options with this structure. So that's one way of playing with it. Another way is to say, and I'm going to show a different one first here. Okay, you have a hexagon, you have a triangle, and these are closed or open on the front or the back. And then you say, well, I'm going to pick a second hexagon that's different. And so these are all the options. There's a bunch that don't have photos because I haven't folded them yet. And so those are opportunities for you to go and say, hey, here's a new design. And in this one, I'm marking with these numbers various options for saying, okay, that next hexagon, up here we treated it as a position of 3-fold rotational symmetry in the broader pattern. So if I zoom in here, you can see that these, well, let's see, which one would be easier to see? This one, you can see these closed hexagons are in between 3 open hexagons and 3 closed hexagons. So that's treating this closed hexagon as a position of 3-fold rotational symmetry in the pattern. But if you go down here, it's the same twists, spaced a little further apart, but we're treating that closed hexagon as a position of 2-fold rotational symmetry. And we have another distinct triangle twist in the mix. So these are patterns that don't need cursed triangle twists, the ones that are marked. And another way of looking at it, we talked about this structure in March of this year, is, okay, I'm going to have a closed hexagon, I'm going to have, so either choosing a closed or an open hexagon, and then choosing closed or open triangle on the front or the back of the paper, and then I'm going to choose another hexagon. Could be closed or open front or back, or it could be a hybrid hexagon twist. Could be a rectangle hybrid, it could be a diamond hybrid, it could be this irregular 2-fold hybrid hexagon. And there are then 6 different options for each of those hybrid hexagons, because it's not just front or back, it's 3 different orientations because those orientations are distinct. And so I'm showing in here how we can, and I'll let the resolution come back up, how we can calculate what twist fulfills the symmetry conditions by saying, okay, I have these lines that I'm drawing on top of this crease pattern that I've set up, where I'm saying, okay, I'm going to have a closed hexagon and a closed triangle on the same side at 2 pleat spacing. Now I'm going to put this hybrid twist around it. It's going to connect up on this pleat, and these pleats are in line. They're just not drawn to connect yet. And I have another copy rotated, respecting the 6-fold symmetry in the closed hexagon. So what I'm going to do is say, okay, my symmetry conditions are, there's a 6-fold rotationally symmetric position in that closed hexagon, and there is a 2-fold rotationally symmetric position in the hybrid hexagon. That means that if I'm if I'm drawing a unit tile, this is the underlying repeating unit of the tessellation, then the center, that unit tile is going to be a hexagon. The center is going to be in the position of 6-fold rotational symmetry, and the middle of the edge is going to be in the position of 2-fold rotational symmetry. Therefore, I have this triangle where the center is the center of a hexagon, the right angle corner is the position of 2-fold rotational symmetry, and then it's a 30, 60, 90 right triangle. And I can set that up with these lines, and then the intersection of those lines, once I've set up the right angle here and the 30-degree angle here, is going to be the center of my triangle twist. And then I'm reading off of the diagram and saying, okay, there's a mountain fold heading straight to that point, and on this side there's a mountain fold heading straight to that point. That is the condition for a closed triangle twist, which we see in the photo right there. So there's all of this structure, all of this math, really, that is behind each of these pretty patterns that I've been folding. And that is something that is teachable, something that is understandable, and that I am happy to teach as as people want to learn. So the other diagram that we have in Tessellation Academy, and this is something, well, both the trees and these tiling diagrams are things that I started doing for tessellations by tiles. These full tiling diagrams have different layers, so you can look through and say, okay, what is the skeleton structure of this? We can see that the hexagons are connected only to triangles, and the triangles are connected only to hexagons. Each of the lines in this diagram represents a pleat, and the dot represents a twist. So we can have that. We can say, okay, where are the symmetry points where they're spaced most together on this tiling? And we can say, okay, what if we don't want our symmetry points there? What if we want them somewhere else? Then we can have a different coloring of the tiling and different symmetry points. We can have yet another different coloring and different symmetry points. Another different coloring, and I didn't include the symmetry points for this one, but this one, actually, you can see there's 2 different colorings of the same spacing. Like it's just different arrangements of the same thing. And that's an important feature when you're designing, because you can take that chunk and it has 3 pleats coming out of each edge. So we have this dark blue hexagon and the light blue hexagons and these gold triangles. Well, on the edge of that, we have 1, 2, 3 pleats. So 3 pleats. And then the next chunk also has 3 pleats, and you can match them 2 different ways. You can match them this way or this way. And both of those options work. So that's just a little mind-bending thing that we can see by playing with these colors. It's something that I figured out in crease patterns first, I want to say, and then figured it out with the colors. But it's, yeah, incredible how many different things can be going on. And more colors and weirder ways of doing colors. We've got so many different options here. And then if I turn all those colors back off, we can take a look at, okay, how would we fold this? That's what these boundary layers are saying. How would we fold this? We have the central hexagon, so we're starting in the center, and then we move out and complete the ring outside of that. Now we want to do this in the way that keeps a smooth boundary as much as possible. So once we have one hexagon, to complete the smooth boundary, we would want to do 2 triangles and another hexagon, and then 2 more triangles and another hexagon, 2 more triangles and another hexagon, and keep working around adding 2 triangles and a hexagon until we get all the way around this ring around the center. And then you go and see the next one, and it's still 2 triangles and a hexagon as you work your way around and around and around and around. And likewise, you can keep going out forever in this structure, just adding 2 triangles and a hexagon, and keep going around and around and around. So these are the tiling diagrams. There's also some other options. You could choose to fold this in stripes. You could choose to fold this with a triangle center. You could choose to fold this in this kind of pill shape. All of these are nice smooth boundaries that get you where you eventually want to go. So that's the hexagons and triangles, 6-fold tiling. There is like this is a particularly fruitful tiling, but there are more than 20 other tilings that we've also discussed in Tessellation Academy. So I want to go through real quick the different topics that we've looked at in Tessellation Academy. And you can see these are the cover pages of the PDFs that you get each month. Each of these pictures is a crease pattern in the membership. The top 2 are the ones with tutorials. So I started off in February 2024. So there's been 16 months out already, now in May 2025. And I have planned topics through next February. And I have a list of more topics. Like, my list of potential topics to do is longer than the list of ones that I've already done or planned to do. So there's like already 2 more years of topics that are ready for me to just pick up and run with. So this is going to be a very long-term kind of membership. And of course, by the time I get through another 2 years of topics, there will be even more topics that I could discuss. In March last year, we talked about arrangements of triangle twists. These are all using closed and open triangle twists. Of course, we could use double open, triple open, etc. triangle twists in these structures, but it's like, okay, we have clusters of 4, we have clusters of 6 and clusters of 4, we have alternating twists, we have clusters of 4 and single twists, we have clusters of 6 twists, we have clusters of 9. We have all of these different options that all make patterns, and they're all in the same tiling. and they're all relatively easy to fold. I did a whole topic on open hexagon and closed triangle twists and the two special properties that make this particular pair of hexagon and triangle twists really interesting to work with. There's also some topics that are more about technique and less about a particular structure. So this one's all about folding in stripes. It has, let's see, I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different structures, maybe just 5 different structures in there, different tilings. And we go through and talk about how to design in each of these tilings. There's using right triangle twists in, it turns out, 3 different tilings. I'm always learning new things when I teach these tessellations, and in this topic I learned that this pattern wake is not in the tiling I thought it was. It's actually in a different one. So there's 3 different ways of arranging right triangle twists that all make repeating patterns. Here I talk about another technique thing, the pseudo tiling breaks, where just like in my tutorial 2 weeks ago, which actually is for Star Power, this pattern that's in Tessellation Academy, we're folding and preparing a couple pleats of some twists, like the rhombus twists or hexagon twists, but not folding all the way until that next ring around the center. So that's a super useful technique that I actually figured out while I was teaching tessellations by tiles a couple years back. That's really accelerated the kinds of things that I'm able to fold. And here we have, speaking of the hexagons and triangles 6-fold tiling, here we have different symmetry extensions. So I talked about, okay, this first symmetry extension with regular twists and with hybrid twists. And then the second symmetry extension, here's 2 patterns in that. The third symmetry extension, the fourth, and we get into more complex ones also. So these guys, Cellular and Frostbite, are using a lot of hybrid hexagon twists to get things in place. And in the case of Cellular, there's a lot of flagstone stuff going on that makes it a really cool pattern to look at and to fold. We've got the trapezoid styling, so all the patterns, all the kinds of patterns you can make with only trapezoid twists. We've got the first right triangle and square twist topic. Like I mentioned, we're coming up on the second one soon, where we have 2 different structures using right triangles off of the smaller pleats of the right, or squares off of the smaller pleats of the right triangles, and then using squares off of the larger pleats of the right triangles. And those have different folding styles. The first one is folded in stripes, and the second is folded in rings around the center. Of course, you could do that. Like anything you can fold in rings around the center, you can also fold in stripes, except for the ones with pseudo tiling breaks, which I would not recommend doing in stripes. But there's just so many different things going on. The hexagons and triangles 2-fold tiling, so not only can hexagons and triangles fit together in this way where all the hexagons go to triangles, all the triangles go to hexagons, there's also some 2 ways where they can have some hexagon pleats going to other hexagons. And one of the things that I don't think I mentioned yet is in our workshop where I'm talking about how to design things, we actually do design new patterns each month in Tessellation Academy. And so we're going through this process, and in the live workshop, the video call, I'm calling on people and saying, okay, it's usually Nancy and Lenora that are there. Nancy, okay, your turn. do you want this hexagon twist to be open or closed? And then Lenora, do you want the triangle twist to be on the same or the opposite side as the hexagon? And you go through and create new patterns. In this particular topic, we actually came up with 3 different patterns, one of which was a hybrid hexagon twist variation on the original pattern that we came up with. So that was pretty cool. Then we've got the hex double rhomb tri tiling, where we got to see, okay, there's all of these different patterns, some of which are familiar from Advent of Tess this year, and taking a look at, okay, how do we fold more of them? How do we design our own? This January, we were looking at patterns that can be folded with only trapezoid and triangle twists. So we've got patterns that are in stripes. There's actually 2 different ways to do stripes like with trapezoids and triangles. There's a simpler way to do trapezoids and triangles in hexagons. And then there's some more complex ways as well. And then every once in a while I throw in a square grid topic. So we've got these hybrid square twists, using them in these various symmetry extensions in the square tiling. Like I mentioned in March, we were focused on this hexagons and triangles 6-fold extension 2, the second symmetry extension, where the second hexagon twist is in a position of 2-fold rotational symmetry. And last month we were talking about mixed depth rhombus twists. And a lot of these patterns, like these that I'm touching with my mouse, I would recommend pre-creasing and collapsing, but I did show some of the tricks needed to fold these first 2 without pre-creasing everything. Then this month is the hexagons and triangles 3-fold tiling, like we saw, and there are more options than initially meets the eye. So this pattern disintegration is one I did a tutorial on the other week. And then there are various different options that comply with those same symmetry rules. And I'll say trillium, disintegration, propeller, and far contacts, and polarity are all complying with that same idea of there's one hexagon and one triangle, and then you make these groups and they either mirror or they alternate sides, but you don't have to use the same hexagon all the time, and you don't have to strictly alternate those groups of twists. So we'll be getting into that next week in the theory and design workshop. So then we've got these extended patterns with square and right triangle twists that we'll be looking at next month. These hexagon, triangle, then hexagon again, and then some other things going on. We have all kinds of different ways of doing that. This summer, I'm really focusing on exploration of different tilings. So here we have things like after you've done hexagon, triangle, hexagon. Then we have things after you've done hexagon, triangle, rhombus. And things after hexagon, triangle, trapezoid. I just put together the tiling diagrams for these last week. And yeah, there's some really cool stuff going on. There's square tiling symmetry extensions coming up in the fall. Hybrid hexagon twists in November. December is going to be on mixed depth hexagon twists. And January we'll have an easy topic, clusters of 4 equilateral triangles, although I will show how to make it hard with dense spacing. And next February will be the compound square twists. So there's a whole lot of different structures and different ways of folding these origami tessellations. Like one of the things we'll get into with the compound square twists that's like illustrated by these two different tutorials is one way of doing it is folding the center of each compound twist first, of all of them, and then folding the outsides. And then another way of doing it is folding the center and the outside, and then moving on to the next one and folding the center and the outside and treating it as more like one twist. And different patterns will allow for different options with that. So there's a ton that I've learned from folding 500 plus of my own tessellation designs. And I've also been teaching these tessellations for several years now, and that's all feeding into Tessellation Academy and helping me to explain these structures that really do have underlying rules, and it's very predictable. Like you can tell me, oh, I have this kind of pattern, and I can tell you, well, this is how I would approach folding it. You can tell me, oh, I have these twist choices starting out a design, and I can tell you, well, okay, you're going to want to try and repeat it like this, this, or this. And so what I want to say is that tessellation design is not mysterious. It's not luck. It's not just happening into these patterns. There are rules behind them, and you can learn them. And that will help you to fold whatever pattern you want with as many repeats as you want, and even design your own. So if you're interested in learning more about Tessellation Academy, definitely check out the membership. You can see all the details at training.gatheringfolds.com/academy, and the link is down in the description. And there are 3 different options for how to sign up. There's a monthly option, $22 a month, which really is a steal. You can cancel anytime. So like if you wanted to show up for 1 month and go through as much as you can and then cancel, like that's fine. I just want people to learn more about folding and designing tessellations. And I should say all of the past topics are available to any current members. It's not like you only have access to the current month at any given point in time. No, you have access to all of it. And right now there are 16 months already in there. And then, so there's the monthly option, there's the annual option, which is, if I remember correctly, $195 per month or per year, which is a pretty good discount relative to the monthly rate. And then there is a lifetime access option. So if you don't feel like doing a membership, then there is that lifetime access option, which comes out to 4 or 5 years of the membership fees, which we've already talked about. Like I already have 2 years of topics planned out, and I have more than 2 years of topics that are just sitting in a list waiting to be done. So you'll definitely get your money's worth and then some on that. Well, technically a 4th way to get access, I do have an option to have access to absolutely everything that I've taught online. It's called the All Access Pass, and everything that you've bought from me so far contributes to getting the All Access Pass. And I should say, like, that's kind of how my stuff works. Any crease patterns you've bought from me contributes to getting Tessellation Garden. Any courses you've bought from me contributes to the All Access Pass. If you wanted a course bundle and you already have some of the stuff in the bundle, what you've paid for that already contributes to the bundle. And if you're in that situation, just reach out and send me an email, and I can send you a custom coupon code for that. So there's so much to explore in the realm of origami tessellations. I've like I've been finding so many different patterns and different niche topics that it's really hard to explain a topic in 1 hour. So having these 2 tutorials and a theory and design workshop and a PDF is really what I've found to be the right level of explanation for each of these topics for it to really sink in. So that's what I have to share about Tessellation Academy. Like I mentioned earlier, we do have another tutorial coming out tomorrow, and it's this building blocks pattern. And yeah, I welcome everyone to come and join us and join the theory and design workshops in particular. Like, that's an excellent place to ask questions about patterns, get more clarification about how to fold, variations on things that I talk about in the tutorials. And yeah, there's always something new to fold when it comes to origami tessellations. You never run out of patterns to try. And with Tessellation Academy, you not only have those 2 tutorials per month, you also have those other 6 crease patterns that you can take a look at and see, like, okay, let me apply what I learned in the tutorials to this other pattern in the same structure. So that's what I'm really hoping people get from Tessellation Academy, is this ability to picture, okay, this is the order that I want to do this in because it's in this structure, and therefore I can fold this pattern from a crease pattern that I wouldn't have been able to fold before. So happy folding, everyone. Make sure to check out Tessellation Academy. Again, it's training.gatheringfolds.com/academy, or you could just go to gatheringfolds.com and click on courses. That would also get you in the right area. So happy folding. See you next time.